Well, we're here at the CCA workbench. It's time for the Academy Sports and Outdoors Rigs and Techniques. And Dave, we are in the Alvey surf
Yes,
casting division right here.
I'm sitting here playing, trying to get all this in the shot. That's the hard part.
Yeah, how do you get a 14-foot or a 12
that was only 10.
I
think that was only 10, yeah.
But
anyway, we're talking about fishing in the surf, and Alvey obviously makes these great side cast reels that can really make a long cast and get out to where the pompanos are, which is what I've been trying to catch here recently. And you know, pompano are a great fish to catch. They're just one of the many fish in the surf that we can target, along with snook and big whitings and croakers. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can catch in the surf, big bluefish, even snook and whatnot. But
go ahead.
There you go. But you can take one of these Alveys out there and make a really long cast. It's unlike a spinning reel. You know, you might take a little bit of time to learn how to use it just from the very beginning, and it'll cast a mile once you put in a couple of days with it. You can make a really long cast without a whole lot of effort, and that's the key to it. You don't have to really fling it really hard. You can just give it a slight whip and then it goes. What you're going to be wanting to use on this kind of reel is, or any reel really, is when you're fishing in the surf, it's probably like 12 to 15 pound test. You can use mono or braid with a 20 pound test leader. This is a Fish Bites surf rig right here, and you can see it's got the little floats on it. It's made out of 20 pound fluorocarbon, so that, they can't see it in the surf. It's got these little floats that keeps everything up off the bottom. You want to probably use a 2 ounce or a 3 ounce Sputnik sinker, or a 2 or 3 ounce triangle weight. Either one will work. I like to use the Sputniks, especially if it's kind of rough, because you'll lose a lot of these in rocks and whatnot. But the way these Sputniks work, you can fold those little arms down, and when it gets caught in the rocks or whatever, you just give it a good shove and keep coming, and it'll come out.
This thing bends.
Yeah, they just bend pretty good, and they'll just come right out.
So speaking of Fish Bites, I know that Fish Bites is tremendously popular in surf fishing. This obviously is their rig for pompanos. What else do you have that you'd put on this rig?
Well, when you're fishing for pompanos, they like to eat a lot of crustaceans. They eat a lot of shrimp, sand fleas, just a lot of little stuff. They will eat fish too, believe it or not. But when we're fishing out there, we want to throw a little piece of shrimp or a sand flea. A lot of times they'll get thrown off. So what we'll do is we'll get a piece of shrimp like this midsection here, and we'll peel it first. A lot of guys will peel their shrimps. I usually don't.
I like to peel my shrimp before I eat it.
But yeah, well, a lot of guys,
it's your personal preference.
They'll peel it before they put it on the hook, and then once you get it on the hook real good, put it on there a couple times maybe, and then slide it up. Then I'll put the Fish Bites on behind it.
The shrimp flavored Fish Bites.
Correct, or the clam or whatever. They also eat clams. So, and once you have, that's actually, I usually cut them into little triangles like this, and I put the fat part on so that the triangle hangs out. You got these little squares to show you how I cut the triangles out. You cut a little, like an inch.
I'm recognizing how the difference between me and you. I want to bring the meat, and you're trying to keep the meat.
Yeah, well, it's exactly. I want to hang that on there, and it's a little bit smaller. It's a little bit smaller, and when you're using a big clam or even a big sand flea, with these little tiny hooks, sometimes that'll get in the way of the hookup. So the less that you have and the most stink that you can get, it'll work out really fine. And once you make that long cast out there, you want to tighten it up real good and get a nice tight straight line to your sinker so that you can watch and see what happens, because these will be floating around in 2 or 3 feet of water, usually if you're up about that second bar. So the water is really not that deep where you're fishing. So once you get that, that stretched out, these things are floating up there. I actually found this one. This is a commercial one that Jimbo makes for us, and I actually found this one. I made a big cast the first time I got to the beach the other day. Made a long cast, snapped it off. And I held on too long. And about an hour later, I was wading out the cast after the tide had went down a long ways, and I saw this thing floating in the surf. And I said, I got it all back, my weight and everything. It was
new life, baby.
Yeah, it was floating up there. So that's a really good thing. Now, if you're not going to be using the bait, you can always use a pompano jig. You can throw these in the surf, or when the pompano move inshore, up in the Indian River, and they get on the flats all the way down to Fort Pierce area. They're inside the lagoon in the summertime. And you can skip these pompano. You just run through the inlet, you know, and you'll see them skipping in the wake when you go over them. And once you see those fish skipping in your wake, you turn around, you throw a nice pompano jig, put a little fish bites on it or a shrimp, let it sit out there and let it sink to the bottom, and then just work it gently back, and boom, they'll eat it.
So Dave, I noticed that you put 2 swivels in your terminal tackle to keep this twist out of.
Yeah, when you're fishing in the surf and you're pulling in these, you know, these big weights and whatnot, what you'll do is it'll spin it.
Ball bearing swivel.
Yeah, it'll spin, and it'll spin up your line really bad. So if you put 2 swivels, I put nice ball bearing swivels too, not a barrel swivel. They don't a barrel swivel does not swivel under load, but these ball bearings do. And if you put 2 of them in there, you're never going to have to worry about twisting your line up.